living in a fallen world means that you will experience some degree of pain in your lifetime. And when that comes, you are going to respond. How you respond, in many cases, will determine whether or not you're following Jesus. In our study through the Gospel of John, we've come to chapter 5. And in the 5th chapter, the very first thing we're going to read about is a man who had been in pain for a long period of time. How long, you ask? So glad you asked. Roughly almost 4 decades. 38 years to be exact. And he was suffering in pain, and because of that, an opportunity presented itself for him to believe something that ordinarily a Jew would never believe. And such is the case with so many of us when pain is prolonged. And so the title that I've assigned to this message in the opening verses of chapter 5 shouldn't surprise you by now. It's Suffering and the Susceptibility to Superstition. And the main point, the lesson that I want to show you, we call it the big idea here in our church. The main thing that I hope you go from here and tell the person who you're going to have breakfast with immediately after what the sermon was about, this is it. So snap a picture of it on the screen if you want to. Sustained suffering, so when pain is prolonged for a long period of time, it increases the susceptibility to superstition, to believe things that ordinarily you'd say, that's just ridiculous, I'd never believe that. Oh yeah? Be in pain for long enough, you'd be amazed at what you can believe. I'm saying that people are in pain. You are in pain. And people believe lies when they're in pain because they just want help from somewhere. And God says, wait on me. And people today say, I don't want to wait. I need something now. So they go to pools because they think the water's magic. We believe superstition, I'm going to show you in just a little bit, way more than this guy did. And so there's 3 warnings I want to show you right from this text so that we won't fall into the prey of believing lies that have come from the devil. Everybody with me? First warning I want to show you from this passage is this. Sufferers, especially prolonged, are susceptible to superstition because they simply long for healing. They just want some relief from their pain. And unfortunately, the search for healing often leads people to mysticism. Mysticism. Look back at verses 1 through 4. We're going to stick with the New American Standard Version today. 1 through 4. Look on the screen. After these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos. In these lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered, waiting for the moving of the waters. For an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after the stirring up of the water, stepped in, was made well from whatever diseases with which he was afflicted. How would these Jews have believed? How would Christians believe such nonsense, which I'm going to get into in a minute? Superstitious stuff I see coming in the church all the time. How do we get to that place? How did this guy get to that place? How did all these Jews come to believe this superstition about an angel making the waters magic? It's very simple. He's desperate. I've known some people who were otherwise very level-headed in their doctrine, who've come to believe some wacky stuff because they've been in pain for way too long. And so they substitute what they know is true for a little bit of something else. And they mingle it together with their true beliefs. Look, I believe in Jesus, but this can't hurt, just a little bit of this. That's what's happening here. Friends, nowhere is this more prevalent today than with the false faith healers of our modern day. False faith healers that you see every single time you turn on TBN. They're a dime a dozen. They prey on sufferers because they know they are most vulnerable, most susceptible to believing a lie. So for this first warning, I think the exhortation that comes right from the text is pretty obvious. I have it on the screen for you. Don't let pain change your theology, what you know about God. Let your theology change how you see your pain. In one of his best-selling books, C.S. Lewis wrote something that has become one of his most oft-quoted pearls of wisdom. Those of you who've read C.S. Lewis probably know this quote. Here's what he says. God whispers to us in our pleasures. He speaks in our conscience, but he shouts in our pains. Pain, it is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Friends, listen to me. When pain and suffering are prolonged, be it physical, emotional, psychological, or spiritual, here's what happens to people, especially Christian people who know their Bibles. They call upon the Lord. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. They maybe sing the song, Lord, I need you, how I need you. And when he doesn't answer in their timing, well, Lord, I can't deal with this pain any longer, so I'm gonna go and find something to ease my pain. And suddenly, they start to change the way that they think about the Lord. They change what they believe about the Lord, just subtly sometimes at first, and then it grows because they allow their pain to tell them how to read their Bibles. Don't do that. Allow your Bible to tell you how to read your pain. But lest we read a passage like this and think it's only about physical healing, we'd be missing some of the most important lessons from this passage. No, a man who's prolonged in suffering and pain, who's been sitting there for 38 years, it's not just physical anymore. Something happens here and something happens here. It starts to sink you into despair. There's no hope. God can help her or him, but not me. I guess I'm just not important to him. And suddenly you start to sink into despair. That's the second warning I want to show you. It leads people into superstition. Warning number 2 is this. Sufferers are susceptible to superstition because they long for hope. And of course they long for hope. As soon as you lose hope, that's it. You're done. And they long for it. And here's the problem. Satan knows that we long for hope in a painful world. And he often offers the opportunity, when he sees you in prolonged pain, to lead you to sources that will not help you. That's what we see happening here. Look at verse 5, and especially this question that Jesus asks him. One man was there who'd been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he'd already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" Now, this odd and seemingly out-of-place question has been the subject of countless books. You can probably go to Barnes & Noble and find a book that was written on this question. So many people love this verse. I've written several devotionals on this verse myself because it seems out of place. It is not. Any psychologist who's dealt with people who have gone through a divorce or serious grief or loss of a child, they know exactly why Jesus asked this question. It's because not everyone who's in pain wants to be healed. Here's why. It's actually pretty simple when you think about it. Sometimes when people are in prolonged pain, especially for 38 years, sometimes they've adopted and created an identity around that handicap. And if they don't have this, well then who am I? And the fear of not knowing who they are is greater than just living the way that they've always lived. And so many times people choose to identify by some handicap or, listen closely to me, or some sinful craving because they've lost hope that God can actually change them or change their circumstances. Like this man who was a Jew and he knew the truth about Yahweh and his power to deliver him, he exchanged the truth of what he knew for a myth about an angel who could make the waters magic. Christians today often exchange what we know to be the truth about a spiritual life and fellowship with God through his Son and the power of the indwelling Holy Spirit. We take that truth and we mingle it with all kinds of counterfeits. And here's what ends up happening. Listen closely to me. We end up relying on ourselves for relief from our pain. Self-reliance for pain relief. Well, God couldn't help me, so I'm just going to go get pain relief from somewhere else. Which brings me to the second application that I want to give to you, a practical application so that you don't mingle the truth with some superficial nonsense that can't really help you. Second application is this. Don't let your sorrowful despair, and you will have seasons of that. Don't let your sorrowful despair lead you to self-reliance. Instead, let those seasons of sorrowful despair lead you to self-denial, because here's what I'm telling you. Listen, that's where hope is found. Let me explain. When the pain becomes unbearable, Christian people, they know what to do. Go to God. And when God takes too long, they say, God, you didn't, listen to my words, you didn't deliver me from my pain, and so I'm going to have to take the matters into my own hand and deliver myself from the pain. Warning number 3. Sufferers are susceptible to superstition because they long for a helper. Not just help, they want a helper. Someone, please see my pain and help me. Look at verse 7 through 9a. The sick man answered him, Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water stirred up. What's he saying? There's no one to help me. But while I'm coming, somebody else steps down just right before me and dives in. Jesus said to him, Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk. Immediately, the man became well. He picked up his pallet and began to walk. Wow. Don't you wish you could have been there to see that? Those whose pain is prolonged, they long for help. No big aha moment there. We all know that. The danger comes, listen closely to me, when, like this man, your desperation leads you to accept help from the devil, who wants nothing more than for you to do this. Look at me. For you to see God like the shepherd with his arms open. Come to me, and I will lead you beside still waters. For you to look at him and go like this. The moment you look around God for some remedy that you think is behind him, some more immediate gratification. Look, I know you mean well, good shepherd, and I'm sure that grass is lovely, but it's just too long of a wait. And this guy on YouTube says, I can have it now. Or this drug says I can have it now. That's what Christians do over and over again. I'm saddened to see how many Christians around the world have been duped into believing lies about the healing powers of handkerchiefs. You should laugh. If you've ever seen an episode of TBN, they will sell you a tissue that apparently has some healing powers on it. When you get it at home, you hold this thing and you rub it, and for some reason, holding this handkerchief that they've blessed because you sewed $100 into their ministry, somehow that tissue has magic powers. Same thing as this pool. It's just a superstition. It should make you chuckle. But lest you chuckle too loud and run home to put your Phillies jerseys on because that'll make them win. Let me remind you of a couple other superstitions that Christians are prone to. I wonder how many people today still hold a crucifix in your hand when you pray as a carryover from your Catholic upbringing. Like just holding this piece of metal is somehow going to make God listen to you stronger. Or I wonder how many people think that just by holding their Bible close to them, that somehow is going to make your prayer have more power. Superstition, nonsense. I wonder how many people have good luck charms all over their car. This will keep me from an accident. Really? What power are you actually relying on? So for this third warning, let me offer you one final practical application. Don't change your theology. Don't look to anything else to help you. Finally, don't reach around God for remedy from pain. Instead, reach around your pain for God who is your remedy. So, same illustration. This time, when pain is staring you in the face, and it's been staring you in the face for years, say, I'm not going to fix my attention on you. I'm going to look around you to my help, which is behind you. Here's what Satan would love to do when you're in pain. Here's what he does. He wants you to fix your gaze on one place and one place only. And can you guess where it is? He wants you to fix it on you and on your pain. Woe is me! Woe is me! I would like you to sit with Johnny Erickson Tada for a month and see how long you say, woe is me. When the pain comes, Yes, cry out to the Lord, but only for a season, recognizing that His help comes in the morning. Don't focus on the pain because you will go insane. Focus on the help that is offered you, which is behind the pain. Look around the pain to the help. When the pain comes, so does the susceptibility to believe superstitions. Don't fall for the enemy's lies. 3 practical applications. Don't change your theology when you're in pain. Let your theology change how you see your pain. Second, don't let sorrowful despair lead you to self-reliance. Instead, be like Paul. Let your sorrowful despair lead you to self-denial. I promise you, that's where hope is found. Thirdly, don't reach around God for remedy from pain, for some other thing that you think will help you. Reach around your pain for God, who is your remedy.
Hey friends, Pastor Luke here. Just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you for watching this video. If you found it to be edifying and encouraging, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And for more videos and sermons just like this, or to watch the full-length sermon, you can find it right here on our YouTube channel or by visiting our website, hopeoflbi.com.